We're going to see this other one on sun worship. Look at Ezekiel 8, verse number 16. And he brought me into the inner court of the Lord's house, and behold, at the door of the temple of the Lord, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Lord, and their faces toward the east. And they worshiped the sun toward the east. Now, isn't this interesting? They're worshiping the sun to the east, not God, the sun. Now, wait a minute, who created the sun? God. Why would you worship what He created instead of Him? I want you to go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 4. So he sees 25 men with their backs toward the temple and their faces toward the sun. They're worshiping the sun in the east. You know, it's interesting because in America, Muslims pray toward the east. They pray toward their little black box out in the desert that they think is somehow holy. And even in Jerusalem, it's kind of toward the east from where they're at there. And, you know, again, they're worshiping creation instead of the Creator. They're worshiping the sun. They're looking at the sun and worshiping Him. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, where you're at, look at verse 13. And He declared unto you this covenant, which He commanded you to perform, even 10 commandments. And He wrote them upon 2 tables of stone. So why do we have 10 commandments? He's going to tell us, verse 14. And the Lord God commanded me at that time to teach you statutes and judgments, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go over to possess it. Take ye therefore good heed unto yourselves, for ye saw no manner of similitude on the day that the Lord spake unto you in Horeb out of the midst of the fire, lest ye corrupt yourselves and make a graven image, the similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. So he's saying, listen, I've given you 10 commandments so you'll remember, have no other gods before me. There is only one God. We worship Him and not everything. He says, when you went over, when He showed you these miracles, you know, He knew that they would end up making images of things that were not God, things that God had not done. And He's trying to tell them in advance, lest you corrupt yourselves and make you a graven image. The similitude of any figure, the likeness of male or female. Don't carve an image of a man and say that that's God. That's wicked. Even the Catholic Church, they put up an image of Jesus. That's not okay according to the Bible. You don't carve an image of a man for a religious purpose and worship that. Jesus Christ is not on the cross. He didn't have long hair. He didn't look like they make Him. Everything that they do is intentionally wrong. Look at verse 17. The likeness of any beast that is on the earth, the likeness of any winged fowl that flieth in the air, the likeness of anything that creepeth on the ground, the likeness of any fish that is in the waters beneath the earth. You know, God's very specific. Don't worship birds. Don't worship fish or men or any image of any of these things. You know, I think all the time about people, how they put up pictures of other people or certain cars or something they want. Man, you better be careful what your heart desires, what you covet after. Look at verse 19. Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun, and the moon, and the stars, even all the host of heaven, shouldest be driven to worship them and serve them, which the Lord thy God hath divided unto all the nations under the heaven. He said, look, and then you're going to look up, and you'll worship the heavens also. You'll worship the stars and the moon, and that is wicked. Go to Malachi chapter 4, the last book in the Old Testament, Malachi chapter 4. Last book, last chapter,